Good evening, everybody. Oh,
Hey,
yes.
everybody. It's been a while.
It has been a while. You know, part of the reason why it's been a while is we got a puppy, and the thing barks a lot about this time every night. So hopefully we don't hear Wheezy, our beautiful 25-week-old golden doodle, barking in the background. But she may join us. I don't know. We'll see.
Hey,
she may be the
either
only
way,
one who
man.
joins us, Rooster.
What's that?
She may be the only one who joins us. I'm
That's all right,
afraid
man.
because it's been so long. But hey, I just want to welcome everybody to the show. You know, we started doing this about a year ago, and the first episode we ever did was our Christmas episode because we wanted to jam something out there, and we wanted to give people an opportunity to see some of the gifts they should buy for that backpacker that might be out there on their list of people.
Maybe a couple of hints to our, lovely wives and things like that, right?
Yeah, exactly. So we wanted to come on here and just share with you guys, 10 or 12 items roughly or so, give or take a few there of some
10,
stuff.
12, 30, 40. I mean, who's counting really?
Yeah, I know. But we're going to cover a vast majority of price points. We're going to do some stocking stuffer stuff, some mid-level items, and then we're going to do like break the budget, don't need to worry about money at all on a couple of items coming up here at the end that we're pretty excited about. So anyway, we took a break for a while. We've been out. We went hiking in Shenandoah. I've continued to work on my Foothills Trail. We're going to bring all that stuff to you hopefully in the next couple of weeks. Along with, we're going to try to see if we can't get some Z-Pack representation on here to talk about some tent stuff they got. But we got more of that coming later that you'll hear about tonight. So anyway, without further ado, I mean, Rooster, man, let's start reaching into Santa's backpack and pulling stuff out with maybe some stocking stuffers.
Absolutely. Let me bam. So we're starting off with something that especially, and we'll talk about food a little bit here, and I maybe should have reversed this order a little bit, but when you're doing these Mountain House meals or maybe Pack Gourmet or whatever, and like I said, we'll talk about that as its own thing in a little bit, but the problem is a regular length spoon, like you're getting your hands all messy. It's a bit of a mess, right?
Yeah.
So for not a lot of money, you can grab a Toaks long-handled spoon. You can get these off of Amazon or you can buy them. I've got it like the Toaks outdoor website listed right here. But you can pick one of these up and they can reach down in there to stir it all up and get your, and get your water and everything and then eat afterwards. They're great. And just because there's no benefit one way or the other, there's also, if you prefer a Spork, you can get a Spork. This is a company that they call it the longest one, and I have actually.
Oh, you have one?
The Spork right here. Yeah, well, so the only reason I have two is because I lost this one. And then I ordered a replacement because, as you know, on our last hike, we can get into that later too, but I was sitting there, I had two options and one of them died. But so it's a little bit longer. So if I put the bottoms together, you can see it's a little bit longer.
Yeah.
And the only other thing I will say, for the $16, you also get a little bag that you can put it in. If that's something that you feel like you need. So there's that. The Finesse City is the name of that one, but there's several different brands. Just Google a titanium long-handled spoon.
Yeah. So
and they're pretty useful.
So I can't speak to this one necessarily, but I have the Toaks one. And one thing you want to be cautious of here is the one I originally had. Can you go back to that Toaks one right there? Yeah. So that handle right there, that's a different color. That has this, it's got a texture to it. So you can hold it, but some brands run the texture all the way through through the bowl of the spoon, and man,
Right.
it sucks to eat. So I would encourage you to make sure you get one that's got that polished look to it over the bowl, because that's going to be more like what you're used to.
Yeah,
That
I
other one
think
is
this is the natural finish of the titanium, and they have to like polish it up to get that smoothness. Yeah, so
yeah,
definitely both of mine are polished bowl, but yeah, that's a good one.
And this is a great item. Like, this is not, you need to really check with your hiker before you buy this item. This will fit just about any hiker that I've seen would love to have this. Just because, like you mentioned, those Mountain House, those Packet Gourmet bags are so deep. You'll see that here in a minute as well, like you mentioned. But yeah, that's a cool item. What else you got there? And
well, moving right along, since we talked about food, let's talk about food. Mountain House meals. You can pick these up at Walmart. You can pick them up on Amazon. You can pick them up in lots of different places, Dick's Sporting Goods and all this other stuff. It's freeze-dried meals. And this, there are some that are, let's say, better than others. I'm a big fan of beef stroganoff, as well as as weird as this sounds, and this is going to sound very weird, the biscuits and gravy that Chad's got right there is actually good.
Yeah.
I saw a YouTuber a while back talking about it, and I was really impressed. Like, I was like, okay, well, I'll give it a shot. If they tried it and said it was good, I'll try it. And I think the next hike I was, with you guys, and I was just like, I was talking it up because it was good stuff.
Yeah, so I have one specifically because I think you and Tripp might have had one as well.
Yep.
So one thing to be aware of, Mountain House is going through a little bit of an identity crisis right now. This is, I don't know if it's driven by the pandemic and all the other lack of resources people have right now and items, but this is a pro pack. So a couple of things, and their old branding style. So I don't know if you can really still find these or not on the shelf, but a pro pack it's got all the air sucked out of it for guys who are hiking at altitude, which that isn't us, but it also compresses really small. So if you see the Pro Pack, you might consider getting somebody a Pro Pack. I think they come in this newer branding as well that Rooster's showing us.
I don't know. I haven't gone too deep into it. Pro Pack right there. So yeah.
So I mean, you're looking at this,
Pro Pack,
or you're looking at this, and that actually is a considerable difference when you're trying to jam a bunch of stuff in your bag. That's the only reason why I have that. But they're good. They're decent. Let me rephrase that. And generally, hikers don't get picky once they get to where they're going to eat at night. Now, we've talked about pickiness, and some do, but I think you could grab just about any Mountain House and shove it in a stocking, and the guy's going to be pretty happy with it. The guy or the gal will be pretty happy with it.
I would say, and this is just my personal preference, after some experience, the breakfast skillet / scrambled eggs thing may or may not be like, so you might check with them if they wanted, because it's those powdered eggs. So that they're not the best. They're not my favorite.
Now,
or maybe bring some salt and pepper.
Yeah, exactly. Or some hot sauce, something to dump in there for sure. And now, if you want to step it up, like if you like the idea of getting them a meal, and you really want to step it up, Rooster and I have a brand that we really like. I think Tripp has had some of this stuff too.
Oh yeah, he definitely has.
And we want to talk to you about some of this. And so this is Packet Gourmet. So Packet Gourmet is a family-owned business out of Austin, Texas. So these are American made. These guys do a great job. The customer service is good. They ship quickly. They're going to put a little personalized note on the bill when you open up the box, and it shows you what should be in there. But we really like these. We've tried a lot of them. There are a couple that are a little bit of a stretch, but for the most part, they're pretty good. Now, like this is the chicken. This is the rescue ramen with chicken. So you still have to add a pack of ramen to this. But let's be honest. $1 for a pack of ramen that weighs nothing is worth it. And these bags are a little bit shorter than those Mountain House bags. So that helps some. This is the Texas State Fair chili. I got a trip coming up this coming weekend. I might take this, or I'm going to take the rescue ramen. I haven't decided, but this one's pretty good. Rooster, some of the ones you've had?
I can tell you that I've had the ostentatious tortilla soup. It was very good. Comes with, and one of the things I like about the Packet Gourmet and the things that they do is it's not just like, so with the Mountain Houses, and some of those are good, some of them not so much, but the thing is it literally is, you open it up, you pour the water in, and you're done. With the Packet Gourmet, you get like a little packet of stuff. So with the ostentatious tortilla soup, it came with a little packet inside of it of lime and of I forget the hot sauce.
Oh,
I depending on which thing. I know, like I've seen sriracha. I've seen, just depending on which meal that you might get a different sauce.
yeah.
But and also little crumbled up tortillas to put in the soup. So they really do the little touches that make it more a better meal, if you will. So
Yeah.
I've also done, I'm sorry, I'm trying to what did I have?
There's the rescue ramen with chicken.
There's the rescue ramen. I've had this Southwest corn and black bean salad. I had that for lunch. It's a cold soak situation where you put some water, you stop at like 10, you throw a little bit of water in the bag, close it up, walk for another 45 minutes or so. Then you shake it up and put some stuff in there, walk a little bit longer. And then at noon you stop. And I got to tell you, it filled me up and it was really, really good. Good stuff.
Yeah. So over there you see the Texas State Fair chili.
Yeah. And I know Tripp had that, and man, I'm telling you.
Yeah. So I'm taking an extra little bag of Fritos with me when I do take it, just because I like that extra little bit of crunch in mine, because it's probably not going to have enough. But in the lower left-hand corner down there, I've had that Big Easy Cajun gumbo. It's got a little kick to it. I'm going to go ahead and tell you, but it was good. It was good. It was cool to have the okra that's in there as well. If you go back a page, Rooster,
I can do that.
I can vouch for one that I didn't like.
Okay.
So keep coming down just a little bit more. There's Dottie's chicken and dumplings. Maybe it was me that night. Maybe I just couldn't eat. I don't know what it was, but I couldn't pull myself together to eat it that night. In fact, they gave it to this dude I call the mailman, who was just gobbling food up when I was on the Foothills Trail, and he ate it. But I have that pasta beef that you see there.
Yeah.
I just hadn't used it yet because it's big. It's pretty big and pretty heavy. So
while you were talking about the chicken and dumplings, it's one of the ones I put in my first order with them. So this is going to be coming on a trip soon, and I'll eat it, but we'll see.
Yeah, and now
I'm not a picky man.
Scroll back up there for me for a minute to the top, Rooster. I have had the All American Works burger. I had it on the Hurricane hike. If you guys remember, if you've listened to the podcast. I didn't like it. I didn't do it justice. I didn't do it right. The food, the meat came back. It was kind of gravelly. So I'm definitely going to get that one and try it again. So these guys do a great job. American company, we family owned. We want to support them as much as we can. They're not paying us. They're not sending us free meals, but they do a tremendous job. And we just, we think they're worth the few extra bucks to get a little bit higher quality meal. So
absolutely good stuff.
Cool.
Moving right along, let's talk. So we're and you'll notice as we go through here that we're kind of going slightly up in price. We got a little theme going on here. Something that you've used quite a bit when we start talking about planning a trip, and when you're not sure, well, how is that shelter? Because we've been at some really good shelters, and we've been at some other shelters. I'll just say that. So you might want to talk about this a little bit.
Yeah. So this was a book that was given to me by my mom one year for Christmas, ironically enough. And it's the Appalachian Trail, and it's kind of hard to see there. I'm sorry for that glare on it, but it's the Appalachian Trail Shelter book. And as you can see right here, Rooster's got it pulled up on Amazon for you to buy. I actually got it. Somebody actually gave me another copy of this. My wife actually gave me a copy of this too. But because she didn't know. But it's a really interesting book. First of all, I love history, so there's a lot in here about the shelter itself, when it was built, how it was built. You can find out if it was a CCC shelter, which are the older ones that have the hickory logs on them, which we're seeing in Shenandoah, some of them. But what's cool about it is it'll tell you what number shelter it is, what elevation it's at, how many people should be able to sleep there, if there's camping pads, if there's a bear pole, bear box. Any of that. So this is coming pretty handy when we go into a region where we don't know the shelters at all. And shelters change dramatically. Like Rooster said, we've been in good ones. We've seen bad ones. We've probably stayed at some bad ones. We stayed at one that had this crazy water cistern system going, which we would not drink out of. That was just horrible. Some of them have no windows, no doors. They're just a stone room with a roof on it. In fact, I'm looking at one of those right now. There's just some really cool stuff, and this is what the inside looks like. So you get some pictures of the shelter. You get some info, like this is where it's telling you bear pole, is there a spring nearby, that sort of thing. And so this is just a really cool book if you're doing a lot of AT stuff. So I would suggest you pick this up if you can.
Yep. Cool. So if reading ain't your thing, there's also a t-shirt. So for instance, shameless plug. Oh, well, I guess it's your stuff and I'm the one plugging it. It's a little different, but
right.
The t-shirt shop has got some really cool ones. So in the 20 to 25 buck range, you can get a t-shirt of various ones that there's something. I promise you, there's probably one that you're going to find either funny or at least something that's pretty cool, because there's some cool shirts in there.
Yeah, so if he scrolls all the way back up the top, that first shirt is the shirt people ask me to send them shirts all the time, and I started out that way, but quite honestly, it starts to get a little old because you got to figure out sizes, you got to order, you got to get it to them, that sort of thing. So this is the original. So if you want one, there they are. Jump up there and get them. I'm not making more than a couple of bucks off of these, I promise you, which is while we're up on Bonfire anyway. And there's an opportunity on Bonfire to create a shirt to feed an organization. So maybe I might create a Shenandoah shirt and then us start feeding one of the clubs that's maintaining the trail up in there with a donation. We can definitely do that. But there's sizes. I tried to get the sizes running big, since most of our we're trying to appeal to people who are bigger. Lots of different colors. If you don't see something that you want, let me know. I can create it like instantly within 5 to 10 minutes. But another popular one, if Rooster backs up there, has been I hike my donkey off, we'll say for now, since my mom might be watching. That's been a popular shirt. And if you'll hit the back button, one of the ones you don't see right there, if you go down, which has been pretty popular, especially right now, if he goes down, that one right there, just says the closer you are to nature, the further you are from idiots. I don't know why, but this particular shirt right now has been pretty popular. And the sizes, you'll see right there, the sizes are limited. They're controlled based off of color. And Bonfires told me they're starting to have some problems getting stuff just like everybody else. So cool place to go grab a stocking stuffer for your the hiker on your list.
Absolutely. So moving right along from t-shirts, and this is something that we talked about last year as well. I think we might have brought this up in our episode that we did about what were we excited about hiking with this year.
Yeah.
Well, at least mine, and I think you have a new one as well. So for me, the Nightcore NU25, hands down, $36, whatever. It's about the same on Amazon. I love this thing, and without they're a little bit tricky right there when they say it's only 0.99 ounces. That's the actual light itself. It's a little bit more than that with the strap, but you could rig up some shot cord and you would be right at that 1 ounce level. And I love this light. It's rechargeable. So I don't have to worry about what if my batteries go dead and carry extra batteries. I have a battery bank that I carry with me to charge my phone anyway. So it'll charge this up if it were to go dead, but the battery lasts a long time. I love it. And I'll let you talk about the next one.
Yeah, so I went out and got the Bendy Petzl, which if this is my version of the Bendy Petzl that I got. It's pretty popular, 40, 44, 45 bucks, but you're going to have to add some shipping in there, obviously. But this sucker's super lightweight, doesn't have as wide of a band on it, which cuts the weight down a little bit more compared to some of the other ones you've seen. And just to give you an idea, and I think Rooster and I both had the same one of these from Black Diamond. This is the Petzl.
Yeah,
that's a huge difference. This is more in line with what what Rooster's using there. This one's rechargeable as well. I carry a block on the trail, and one of the cords just happened for one of the other items happens to go to this and work for that as well. Exactly. So this is a cool item that I've already taken out twice. I'm super excited not to have to carry this anymore. It's heavy, it's bulky, it's good if you're just getting started. But this is way better. Now, what's cool about the one Rooster got, he can take some bungee cord switches out. I think you just hadn't done it yet. I think you're thinking about it at least.
Yeah, I am thinking about it, and I've got some cord. I don't mind this. And just as a, literally, it's just boom, 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 and I'm gonna probably break the strap. That'd be good. Anyway, so there, it's off, and so now it's just. It's just a matter of just because it's just right there. I love this so much that there's a theme going tonight with all the stuff Alan has lost recently. But I lost mine and I bought another one exactly like it. Oh, and once again, I ended up finding it. So now I have two, but that's one for a kid so that they can go hiking with us. And so that's, yeah, super. Like, I can't say enough about the lights. They're awesome.
Cool.
I think the next thing on our list, Chad, we talked about filtration, and this is something that both of us started using within the last year or so. Maybe I might be at 2 years now, but the Katadyn Be-Free water filter.
Yeah. So, we up until Rooster made the switch, we were huge fans of the Sawyer. And actually a guy I grew up with, a guy named Nate, went to high school with, he suggested one of these as well. He actually kayaks up near where we're going to be hiking on the Foothill Trail. And I have already been this year. And he talked about how easy it is just to screw the top off, dip it in the water, put it back on there, and you're drinking. And I blew it off. I was like, you know what? It's not that big of a deal. I'm getting what I need with a Sawyer. This is a game changer because of the flow rate, if nothing else. The flow rate out of this sucker is, I would say, 2 to 3 times what you're getting out of the Sawyer, especially when you first start using it. And, no matter what filter you use, you're going to start to use you see a little bit of slowdown the more you use it. I think Rooster's starting to see some of that in his now. But I like this a whole lot better. I can see what's going on inside of here. And so I feel like, me personally, I feel like this is easier to maintain in the sense that I know quicker when it needs to be switched out. I think Tripp had some problems with his when we were out in Shenandoah at the end of September on his Sawyer. I will say, like, I was using the Sawyer Mini before, and the Sawyer Squeeze has a much higher flow rate, and that's what Tripp uses. And he's had great luck with him with his Sawyer Squeezes up until this one trip. But one thing I have noticed with my Be-Free, after the initially water, it was like just flying through this thing, and I was like, holy cow. Now it's a little slower, but I've noticed that if I'll fill it up and let it sit for a few minutes, the flow rate's much better than if it's dry on day one and I just fill it up full of water and try to squeeze the water out. Yeah. And the one negative that I've seen from more than one person, and I happen to be one of them that's had the problem, the bag that comes with the Be-Free. So this, just to give you an idea on price, these are about $40. I want to say, is that right? 40 or that's 40 correct. Or 50? It's somewhere between 40 and 50, but it's $25 just to replace the filter. That's
the other thing. So the filter itself you can get for 25. The filter with the 1 liter bag, and they have a couple different sizes. They got a 600 milliliter and a 1 liter bag. That bag is a little bit thin, and so I did have a problem with mine. What I did, and not what a segue. Did you see how I did that?
Yeah.
Is I bought the HydroPack Flux. Which HydroPack, if you buy that Katadyn, what you'll find is stamped on the little squeezy bag is it's made by HydroPack. So it's got the same exact threads on this Flux. This Flux is it's a little heavier than that Be-Free, but it's thicker. It's thicker wall.
Yeah. You're not going to worry about it. So one of the problems with this, and I'll be honest, you guys have heard us talk about knock bags. There's a knock bag for this threaded hole opening as well. I have one. Because this is bigger, it requires a little bit stiffer collar on this bag. And when I went and looked at the reviews, I didn't find pinhole reviews through here. A lot of the busting in the seams was up in here on this collar. And so, so Rooster's exactly right. We're recommending this filter, but we're also recommending that you go get this bag because I feel like the two together is just a strong combination. This bag will work as long as it doesn't come to you automatically damaged. I haven't, knock on wood, had a problem with this bag yet. So I was just cursing myself, but
yeah. So my Flux that I use is similar to this. I think I got the blue color, but the thing I love about it is I use it. This is the only thing that touches dirty water the way I'm currently doing it. Yeah. And so I fill it up a liter at a time. It's fast enough flow rate that sitting right there at the stream, if I want to get 3 liters of water because we're going to camel somewhere, I'll go ahead and filter that water into Segway King, my 3-liter seeker, which also, if I really wanted to, I could put dirty water in that seeker. It's got the same wide opening. I haven't had a problem getting it to fill up anywhere that water is running at all. But what I love about the seeker is, it's the same threads if I needed to. But what I typically do, just because the flow rate's so good, is I use that 1 liter and I just filter it, 3.5, whatever, depending on how full I'm getting it, and just fill up my reservoir, my 3-liter bag that I'll then put in my pack and carry. And that way, and I even use the one that I have doesn't have the little tether on the lid. So I use the lid from my Flux so that I can just open it and drink straight out of it if I want to, or keep it closed and it's fine. So that's just how I do it. But having a reservoir, whether you want to use it to carry your dirty water and then filter it there, the thing still fits. Or if you want to just filter into it and use it as a carry bag, that thing's awesome. I love it.
Yeah. So what do I do? So I carry 2 smart water bottles. Alan carries smart water bottles as well. So that right there gives me 2 liters. And then this gives me a 3rd liter. But I don't have a good carry bag yet for this. So far, well, I won't say the only time, we've actually had the need to really hump water down a trail twice now. Once coming through Maryland was bone dry, and then once when we went up Hump Mountain up in Rome, Tennessee, we ran into a drought and had to.
And there was also that Wilson Creek trip. We had to hump water that second day because we knew the cistern was up there and we weren't 100% trusting. Yeah, and thank goodness, because.
That water was horrible. Yeah, so I don't have this. I don't have a plan to get this, but one of the reasons why this is on the list, if Rooster goes back to the was it the Flex?
The Flux,
the Flux bag. This is on my list. This is on my Christmas list, asking for it now. Partially because I don't want to get to the point where this wears out. I just think that's a safer bet. But I'm going to tell you, the combination of these two over the Sawyers for me is a no-brainer as so far. And this thing's super easy to clean. You can just shake it in the water. You can fill the bottle up, a third of the way and shake it like this, and it's going to clean this filter out for you as best it can. So,
and if you decide that you want to go with the Flux, you can just buy the replaceable filter and use the Flux.
Yeah.
I will say that the collar on the Flux is not quite as stiff as the one on your Catadine Be-Free bag. It's not quite as stiff, but it still works.
You can see it. So that's like a hard plastic, and then this is obviously that stretchy whatever something that'll still be around long after I'm gone. Apparently,
but no BPA. I do know that. That's like buzzwords. Magic.
Cool.
So the next thing, we've kind of talked about these a little bit, but I use the Trekology Easy Go, I think is the correct way to pronounce that. I'm going to go with it. Not expensive. I actually just noticed today when I was looking at Amazon that mine was right at 2 pounds, and their new one is like 1 pound, 14 ounces, which is only 2 ounces off. But, anyway, on sale right now on Amazon, at least today, for $29.99. So
this chair,
yeah. 2 pounds. It'll hold 300 pounds. Again, we like to do what we can to have stuff that fits people our size. And you've seen me. I mean, is it extra weight? Yep. Does certain ultralight hikers think you're crazy? Sure.
Yep.
Do people look at you a little envious when you're sitting in camp in a comfortable chair?
Yes. I can. When we had dinner in Shenandoah last time, I sat right beside Rooster, and he's in his chair, and I'm on the ground on this stupid little seat cushion pad that's great for a million other things, except for sitting on it when you look over and Rooster's in his seat, and you're like, I want a chair. And we've talked chairs before. Trip, I don't think is a huge fan of chairs, but we might slowly be convincing him. I don't know, but there are a lot of options out there. Alan or Rooster's got a few other options here.
So if you're under, so the thing I love about this chair is it's good for 300 pounds. And I'm going to go up in price, but we'll talk about weight capacities too. Recon has this chair, the REI Co-op Flex Light. Now, its capacity 250. If you're over 250, probably not the thing for you. It's quite a bit more expensive than the Easy Go, but the weight is 1 pound.
Yeah.
So literally half the weight. So if you're under 250 pounds and you're really looking for a chair, is 1 pound that big of a penalty? That depends. If you're through hiking, sure it is. If you're doing what we do, heading out for a weekend, I think it's worth it. That's my thing.
And it comes in orange.
It does come in orange.
My favorite color. So
next, we've got the Helinox. This one's a little bit more. It's also a 1 pound chair. I think the weight capacity is 265. So a little bit more capacity. These are kind of like, they're well known. They're the name brand, if you will, of chair. And I think sometimes we pay a little bit for that name brand, and that's kind of what's going on here, I think. But once again, at 17 ounces, it's hard to argue with. As long as you're within the weight capacity. And last but not least, this one is actually, I think, a little bit heavier, but I saw it today when I was looking up chairs, and this thing is kind of interesting because it's got these straps so you can loosen it up and give it a little bit more lay back, which is kind of like my chair is kind of laid back, but then you can also kind of tighten it up a little bit and have a little bit more upright seating position, which I found intriguing. Again, the weight, if it's if I get down low enough, I'll either be buying the REI or the Helinox just because of the weight, more than likely.
Yeah, you won't be buying this one because it's temporarily out of stock.
Well, it may be available. Well, and this is just right now, like on their website, but you could probably check it. REI, it's in stock in the REI in Mechanicsburg, which is not far from here. Oh, they've got some in Timonium too, which is in Maryland. So, and that's a brand new REI, by the way, 22 miles from my house. Somebody may be joining. Just saying. But anyway, so just a camp chair. Again, this is something that you at least want to talk to your hiker friend. But what I will say is this, even if they don't use it for hiking, I bet it ends up as the chair that you throw in the bag. A friend of mine just got one of these for something. I don't know if it's his birthday or whatever. And I was talking to him last weekend, and he was like, man, after seeing your chair, the kids got me one for something. He goes, man, I take that thing everywhere because it takes no room. It folds up into that little bag right there.
Yeah.
So like you compare that with the bag chairs you get other places. Is this one as comfortable as one of those bag chairs? Not quite, but the convenience of having something that folds up and fits into that tiny bag is so handy. And it's light in comparison to one of those other chairs and everything else. My kids love them. I love them. They're pretty cool.
So where does this sit on your pack? Is it in the pack? Is it on your backpack? Like how do you pack this thing?
I typically put this as the top thing. And the reason I put it as the top thing is because I take it out at lunch. I just want it really accessible. That's the main thing, because I don't want to carry the extra weight of the chair and then stop and sit on a log for lunch. If I got the chair and I've spent the time and the money to carry this thing and everything else, I might as well use it every chance I get. So I pull it out at lunch, and then as soon as we get to camp, as you know, it's one of the first things I pull out and set up.
Yeah.
Just because, when I'm putting my shoes on, when like anything, like it's fantastic. Next,
cool.
And I'm going to have to do a little announcement. Hey, honey, this is kind of what we were talking about earlier. I'm just throwing this out there. Okay.
I'm not honey, by the way, just so we're clear. I'm not honey.
That was a message to my bride. So, navigation. and being able to keep in touch with your family.
Yeah.
Speaking of things that are on back order, we're seeing this everywhere, guys. I mean, but you recently picked up one of these, so I think you should talk about like just about how awesome or how you feel about the Somewhere hotspot.
Yeah, so I have one. I don't know why I didn't get it out. It's still in the backpack back there. But anyway, I went on the Foothills Trail by myself for a night, and I had no way to communicate. Now, we'll get to this other part in a minute, but I got it specifically for the reason I wanted to be able to communicate in case I needed somebody to come get me. That trail is very remote, has very remote sections that are sometimes not easily accessible. You know, you're out there by yourself, you trip, you stumble, you get yourself dehydrated. There's a million reasons why you might need one. And I didn't have one. We sort of Murph off of Trip when we go because he has the full size Garmin InReach, I think is what it's called.
InReach Explorer is the one.
Yeah, the bigger one, and we're going to talk about those when we talk about this. But this to me, I got it for my birthday in August, and I was using it at the end of September. When it worked, I loved it. The problem was user error. I had not done enough, and this applies probably to every one of the ones Alan's about to show you. You got to do, once you get it, it's not just plug and play. There's research that needs to be done. There are videos you need to watch, no matter which one you get, on how to use it effectively. So the first time I used it, I did not use it effectively, and it was sketchy at best. The second time I used it was when we went to Shenandoah, and I did a much better job with it. Now, I will say this. I have talked to them. You get yourself deep in a gorge, especially during the summertime or springtime where the trees are leaving out and there's a lot of cover above you. This one doesn't do that great of a job. If I remember right, they told me it said it needs a view of 30 degrees above the horizon. And I was down deep in a gorge, and it wasn't working worth a crap. And honestly, that was a rough trip. I got sick that night. I didn't drink enough. The next day, I threw myself down the side of a hill, a flight of stairs. I had every reason to prove that it was worth the $279. Like, I don't think when you go looking for these, wait till you have the money to do it, but don't let money get in the way of the one you want. And Rooster's going to show you a lot of different other options. This one works for me as long as I keep learning all the new features. It's very simple to use. The app is great. It works for me. And this is a personal preference. You don't go buy this without talking to the backpacker first. This is not something you want to do.
For sure. And also, not just is there a different price point for each one of these items. There's also different options when you go to sign up for the service, because these are service required things. There are a couple of options for personal locator beacons that don't require a service fee. And they are about the same kind of money, but they have one button that is, oh crap, come help me. And it calls out the National Guard. It calls out like emergency services immediately. Yeah. What you get with something like this is you're paying for a membership, a service fee, whatever you want to call it, to the Iridium satellite network, and also to the GOES, which Global Emergency Operating System. I don't know what it is, but it's a private company that when you hit the oh crap button, the panic, it contacts them, and then they contact you, and you can say, this is what I need, and you can get an appropriate response. And you can contact your friends and family and say, hey, this is what's going on. Now, there are some options out there that have just a single button that you can't send different messages. The problem with those is that being able to have that conversation with emergency services or with your family, because you might have an emergency that needs you need to get off the trail, or something might happen at home, you need to get off the trail. But it's not necessarily send the cavalry, because in some states, if you hit the panic button and they send an emergency response, if it's not a life and death emergency, you could be on the hook for that. Yeah. And when helicopters and rescue people get involved, I don't know how much it costs, but I bet it's not cheap.
Yeah.
So, and I hope I never have to find out. So anyway, that's, so different ones, there's websites where they talk about the difference in cost. Please, if you go to look at one of these, do some research, reach out to us. I'd be glad. I've done a spreadsheet with over cost over time and things like that. And so I'll be glad to help, anybody out, but I'm going to go ahead and talk about the Garmin InReach Mini. This is the one that when it becomes time for me to get one of these, which I don't know exactly when that'll be. This is probably the one I'm going to go with. And the main reason for me is because of a couple of things. One of which is I have the Garmin Phoenix watch, and I can send the check-ins and stuff from the watch without having to break out my phone, pull out my phone, do other things. So it just more seamlessly integrates into my stuff that I already have. And that's really, it's a little bit more expensive over time, depending on how much you use them. And that's, your Somewhere doesn't require a monthly subscription, if I'm not mistaken. Right? You can, well, what I mean by that is you're not locked in for any one period of time. You can buy it a month and then not buy it the next month.
That is correct. You can pause it, which is what was the word they use, or you can just shut it down completely if you wanted to do that. So mine is on right now. It's probably, I got an October hike this weekend. I got a November hike coming up. Mine's probably going to be on until the end of November. Then I'm going to cut it off. I'm going to cut it off until March or April, whenever we're headed back out again. And
yeah, go ahead.
And mine is as simple as a hotspot is really all it is. It's a GPS hotspot. So you're using their app. Their app is very user friendly. You can also turn on tracking so that it'll track you. If he backs up to it, its SOS button is underneath the blue cap. So you pop the blue cap and there's an SOS button and you hit it and then it'll let you know when the signal has gone out and is actually being sent. So, for me, that was perfect. So I get what Rooster's saying. This is a very personal decision about how you want it, how you want to, which one you want to buy and how you want to use it.
It is, and you were talking about the difficulty of getting connections. I know Trips had the same issue sometimes where it takes a while for a message to get out, because when you're in the trees and especially almost anywhere on the Appalachian Trail, there's a lot of tree cover just about everywhere. And so getting enough clear sky for it to get a good connection, because all of the ones that we're showing you today use the same satellite network, exactly the same satellite network. So if one's antenna might be a little bit better and get a better signal than the other, but for the most part, they're going to be probably pretty close as far as how they get signal and everything.
Yeah, and when you start to do your research, Rooster's right. You got to dig deep, because the first level you're going to come to is, hey, we want you to join this other program that can go with it, that's going to pay should they want to charge you. And really, what I think that is for, I could be wrong, but if you go really, really, really remote, you're going way off the radar, I think you might need that, right? But a lot of those plans don't even kick in until you're at least 100 miles from your house. You got to be 100 miles from your house to hike, which we are, obviously, North Carolina, Virginia, Maryland, Pennsylvania, for those of us that don't live there. You might find yourself 100 miles from, more than 100 miles from the house, but Trip has his. I've got mine. Rooster sounds like is trying to make the decision on his. Don't freak out and think you got to cough up all this extra money to these extra services. I think they're really for people who are way the freak off the radar, which we are honestly not really that far.
And so we talked about yours there. I think there's 3 or 4 different levels, and as far as what you can pay and how many messages you get, and that's something to be really aware of. Yeah. Every one of these has a different set of plans, different number of messages that come with each level. And so the Garmin, I'll just talk briefly about, if you want to be able to turn it off and not pay every month, you can pay literally every month on a yearly subscription, and every month you have a slightly lower bill than if you want to do what they call a freedom plan, where you can shut it down for a couple of months and then turn it on for a month when you're ready for a hike. If you're doing the freedom style plan, if you're going to be using it more than about 8 or 9 months, then your cost savings goes into do it just to pay for it every month. But if you're not, but unlike yours where there's no charge, you do have a yearly. If you're on that Freedom plan, there's a yearly like $36 fee that you got to pay every year, even if you don't plan on using it at all that year. So, obviously, you could shut the whole thing down, but to keep your service, that's what it costs. So that's that. There's another one. Now the Bivy Stick is another one of those where you can pay, you can not pay. You can pay for a month or two and then stop paying. The only little thing with the Bivy Stick is if you want to, because they all work a little bit differently. If you're sending messages, this thing basically is they all are kind of like a sat phone. They use a sat phone network. So it has a number that the text would come from. If you want to keep that number, you got to at least pay for the leased plan every year. And when we look at it every month, it's like $18, and then you can go $30 for the plus. And all of these are similar. They all have a lower plan that's somewhere between 15 to 20, then another plan that's somewhere between 25 to 35, and then another plan that's around 50 or so for unlimited texts and all this other stuff.
Yeah.
But they all, like I said, they're all a little bit different. Yeah. And then finally, there's the Zolio. So we talked about this, but this is the cheapest of the bunch. It's $199. But after looking at it, you have to pay $4 a month to keep it active. Plus, when I looked at the message and everything, it's not necessarily the cheapest over time. Okay. In fact, it's actually one of the higher priced devices if you're going to keep it for a few years. So it's just an interesting little thing that I ran across. They've all got their pluses and minuses. All of these use the same thing, but a satellite communicator. And again, the main reason being, especially if you're doing solo hikes, man, be able to keep in touch with your family in case something happens. I can't stress, we talk about safety all the time. Is it foolproof? No. You might be in an area where you don't have signal. But I can guarantee you there's a lot of places we go where there's no cell phone signal. We've been through it over and over again. And one time when we did Hump Mountain, my wife was, I'll just say, not pleased when I finally got a hold of her after our hike, because I had not had cell phone signal all day long. And I was using All Trails at the time to ping messages. And when it would get signal, it would send. Well, from the time we woke up till we got there, after lunch, there was no signal. She never got a single message, and she was less than pleased that I had not at least tried to communicate, even though I had. I think she got 100 messages or something like that after my cell phone finally connected. But having something like this would have saved a lot of anxiety for her.
Yeah, and one tip I would give you is the first time I took mine out, I tried to be careful with the battery. I would cut the device on when I wanted to send the signal, cut it back off when I thought I was done. The somewhere doesn't work that way. It works better when you cut it on, you leave it on, and it keeps trying to send those stuff out as you walk through areas with better signal success. And so its battery will last, I think, up to something like 10 days if you're not running the full tracking on it, but you're just pinging people your location and texting through the hotspot app. I think it'll last a while. So, don't think you need to just keep cutting it off and cutting it back on. I think you can get by with just leaving it on, especially if you're just out there 2 days. The thing's going to last. I've come off the trail 2 days and it's a 79%. That's not bad.
Yeah.
And that's with me running the tracking, not just the pinging every once in a while off of it.
Yeah. And I will say this, some of these do have tracking. Some of them, if you want to do tracking, you have to pay more. But all of them, even when you're doing tracking, it's hitting every 10 minutes. If you're using something like an All Trails or something like that to log the trip, it's going to be way more accurate on what you traveled than your GPS device, your communications device, because that thing's hitting every 10 minutes or even every 2 minutes. If you're paying for the super high end one, you can, but it's putting lots of little jagged edges in there, and it only sends when it gets signal. It just, the thing is these are really about communicating. You can use them for tracking. People do use them for tracking, but it's really more about being able to communicate and to let people know where you are every so often, rather than them trying to use it for a GPS route that you took. That's just my personal feelings on it, but
I agree. I
That's
agree 100%. So, all right. So we're at the end of the list here. This was a big ticket item, but we wanted to throw one out there that was just sort of a no budget doesn't matter item, and I couldn't think of anything for a while there. But then something showed up this week, and so we're gonna touch on a couple of different price points here,
Yeah.
and then we're going to start with a Z-Pack. So Z-Pack released a new product this week, the Duplex XL.
Sorry, I'm just I need some type of sound effect because this is that one when you see it, when you see that price tag, for most of us at least, there's this huge shock and like, ooh, yeah, you got to be serious about really being into hiking if you're going to talk about spending $700 on tent. I'm just saying.
And getting you want to make you want to buy something that's a game changer for your base weight. This is it. So if Rooster highlights that line right there, he's hovering over that very first paragraph down there. No.
Yeah.
Down. Designed for taller hikers. It boasts an 8-foot long usable floor length, perfect for up to 7 feet. So Trip has the non-XL, just the regular duplex. I've seen that from him. I've seen it from my buddy Al. I think my buddy Joel has one too. And we've talked about Z-Pack. We don't need to beat on them. They do a great job. We don't need to keep telling you guys how good of a job they do. But to recognize that this was needed to create it, get it to the market, I'm as thrilled about this as I am about the stuff that Gregory's doing with their backpacks for the big and tall, because I think this is a game changer for guys who especially start to fall in the area where Alan and I they're 6'3", 6'4", 6'5", 6'6". They'll tell you can fit in a regular duplex, but you got to lay like diagonally sometimes to get in there, right? And I think this is a huge deal. And it just came out, just hit the market this week, I believe, or maybe it was Friday. I don't remember.
Yeah, and this is it's 4 ounces heavier than the normal size one, so it's not like a lot heavier. 4 ounces. I mean. Yeah. Don't get me wrong. I mean, if you got the money to spend, and you got a friend that obviously they better be a really good friend if you're going to spend $700 on them. But if you got the money to spend and you're a tenter, because we didn't talk about this. This was part of our show prep, but I do want to say you joined a new group recently.
Yeah. So you guys know I've had this Superior Gear hammock laying back here just to be cool on the TV screen for a while now when we go live. But I finally, when I went out on the Foothills Trail by myself, I took it. I loved it. It was great. I'm still a tent guy. I still have a tent. Rooster will tell you, what I've learned is that it's good to have choices. I got multiple backpacks to choose from. I got a tent versus a hammock to choose from for the right situation. Rooster knows when we went to the top of Hump, there's no trees at the top of Hump. So you need a tent somewhere in your closet of hiking gear. But I love this thing. It should have made the list. There are a couple of things I don't like about it, which we could probably do a whole episode on that and might do that at some point. But it is a good product. I was warm. I had plenty of room to stretch out. I didn't feel like I was jammed up in a mummy bag. I didn't feel like I was jammed up in some tent. My Altaplex is great. It's a little claustrophobic at times if you don't set it up well. I love it. It's a game changer too. But this right now is at the top of my list, and maybe we should have put it on the list too for this. I don't know. Rooster,
yeah, and I didn't think about it. So we can actually here. Boom. We'll just real quick. There.
And he's changed
SuperiorGear.com.
Yeah, he's changed the design a little bit.
Yeah, and so again, you can go. This is another one of those things where you can scale the cost up. Chad likes the Superior Gear. I am in love with my Dutchware. So I brought up tarps just because that was another possibility. If you've got somebody and they're hiking, maybe they're new to hammocking and they got one and they're using a tarp they picked up off of Amazon for $30 or something like that. You want to help them upgrade their game, man. I'm telling you, the Xenon Hex tarp, which is what I have, and you have the same tarp. Recon has the Xenon winter version. Yeah. I'm just here to tell you, much lighter than the one that you're going to buy on Amazon. And man, Dutch and crew, they do a great job. I talked one of our coworkers who recently heard that I hiked and started talking to me about hiking a little bit. The idea of hammocks interested him. So he came to Dutchware and we priced him out a chameleon setup and he ordered it and he went on his first hike, which is, it's a little bit spinny to spin on your first hike, but I talked to him after and I'm like, how'd it go? Because he had tried a buddy's hammock, like an Eno or something that was shorter. He had some shoulder cramping and he was a little concerned. I'm like, look, you're going to have to get a camping hammock that's 11 feet long and have the features. He did it. He loves it. You're going to spend $300 to get a full setup. But can't recommend Dutchware gear enough. Everything from tarps to hammocks to ridge lines, whatever you need, they've got it.
Yeah.
So,
I like you said, I have that tarp. This hammock works for me because what scared me off of a hammock, not to digress, was the underquilt. We can definitely talk about that later. The underquilt in this particular hammock sewn in, and then I snapped in my quilt right now, so it's hard to see. But you could snap on a quilt as well, and that's what appealed to me. Danny runs the place. He's a great guy. We learned about him from Shug, some of Shug's videos, I believe. Danny always answers my questions. Rooster will tell you, I first got it and I set it up and I had a lot of problems. It was calf ridging, which are those ridges that form underneath your calf, and your leg can't lay at a comfortable position, and it pretty much ruins it for you. Reached out to Danny. He gave me some things to try. With the ridge line, we got that sucker set up right with a little bit of help from Rooster as well, and a couple of suggestions, and it works for me. Danny's changed his design a little bit with the bug net. I got caught in this gray area where I wanted him to hurry up and send it to me right before he released that. So you should go check it out. They're made in Minnesota, I believe.
That's correct.
Which is just it's another American-made product. Be patient with him. He's got a lot of orders. As you can see, that's a pretty cool looking hammock.
And they even make a 12-footer. So yes, my chameleon is an 11-foot hammock, period. And they make a 10, 11, and a 12. I know Shug had a 10, and he normally is an 11-foot guy. And he commented how he found that it was still fine for him.
Yeah. I got the 11. Rooster and I talked about it a lot before I finally pulled the trigger. In fact, I probably made him sick of talking about it. But he's got some options in there, too, to make it a little bit lighter. His quilts are good, too. They're decent.
Yep.
So
good stuff. But anyway, I wanted to throw some hammock stuff in there just because I'm a hammock guy.
Yeah.
And then last, I did want to say that, everybody needs a shelter. If you got somebody and they're looking to get a tent or something and they haven't got it yet, something like the Mir Ultralight 3-season tent, you have one that's basically the same thing, the Lanchan style, and they have 1-person and 2-person sizes. They're lighter than most of the tents you're going to find out there. They're a little finicky. I think you had a little bit of issues up on Hump with yours, just getting it set like you wanted it.
Yeah.
But a couple of pounds and a lot more, more budget friendly. So I just wanted to mention those because they're out there. They got a couple different colors and things like that. So the rumors are that they're pretty good. So anyway,
cool. So that's kind of it for some items to give that backpacker on your list. Did we have anybody chime in with any questions?
We actually did not have. We've had several viewers today, but we don't have anybody right now. No, we haven't had any comments or questions today.
Okay, cool. So what's the plan moving forward? Because obviously we want to keep pushing out content as much as we can. So, this all started with a podcast, old school, typical style podcast, and this is just easier to push out, easier to use right now. We may get back to the podcast, but these vlogs or whatever you want to call them seem to work well for us right now. So we got some stuff we're working on. We may come back as early as next week just to do a recap on Shenandoah part 2 that we did because that was a cool hike. We got to see some great stuff, got to stay at the Skyland Lodge up there, which was pretty cool. So we'd like to share some info about that, show you some pictures. So we'll definitely hopefully be back on with Trip and Recon to do that. We've reached out to Z-Pack quietly in the background to see if we could get one of their guys on, a pretty cool guy named Matt. So we need to do some work there to see if we can get him on before the end of the year. And then I'm trying to get a guy named Andrew. Andrew sort of oversees the Foothills Trail in some sort of capacity, which, right now, Rooster, if everything works out the way it's supposed to be, Rooster's going to get a chance to finish the middle section with me that I still need to do to finish that trip off. So I've got a 14 miler this weekend to do the end of it, but then I got to go back and get the section that my buddy Joel calls the big middle, and Rooster's going to step up and come down and hike in South Carolina and discover.
It's going to be great.
Discover the Foothills Trail is no joke. It is not foothills. It is mountains. So I'm excited about that. Andrew wants to come on and talk to you guys. We want to get everybody's attention about the trail. Let them know it's down here. Let them come check it out. So we're trying to get that going as well. And that's just sort of it. Our season's starting to wrap up. It'll soon get cold here. If it doesn't, then I'll just keep on hiking as much as I can. But generally by the end of November, holidays and other stuff are getting in the way, and it's just better to shut it down until springtime. So anything else you want to throw out there, Rooster?
Hey, if you're thinking about going to hiking, go hiking. Like, have fun. You don't have to spend $1 million. You can get some gear. We didn't talk about it. There's backpacks that you can get for a reasonable amount of money. Yeah. Reach out through any, whether it be on YouTube, leave some comments. We'll get back with you. Facebook, however you want to reach out to us, but we'll help you find some budget friendly stuff that kind of fits your budget. But get out there and enjoy the great outdoors. It's I can't tell you how much of a help it is to just separate from the world for a few days. Yep. And just enjoy some time out with Mother Nature and to get some of those beautiful sceneries. And I can't wait to get down to the foothill trails and see some of those waterfalls and everything. I'm super excited. So It's going to hurt, but I'm okay with it. We'll get there. You don't have to hike 15-mile days. Like, it's okay to do 8 to 10, or even 6 if that's your thing, or 5 or whatever. Yep. One of the hikes we do around here, just to test out gear and everything, it's a 4-mile hike. That's 2 miles in, campsite, 2 miles out. It's easy peasy. But man, it's just getting out there and spend the night in the woods. Man, it's fun.
Yeah. So Rooster's right. Make sure you hit us up on Facebook, YouTube. We're on Instagram. I'm pretty particular about the Instagram. So message me first and tell me that's why you want to be on there, because we get so much garbage coming through there. People who look like they're hikers, but they're not really. We also get these crazy companies that want us to sell their stuff that don't actually have anything to sell yet. And they're not even camping gear related. They just want somebody to put their stuff on and look cool and out in the middle of the woods. There's a lot of problems with Instagram and what it can do for people, because what you're looking at isn't necessarily real. We try to keep it as real as we can. Filthy, dirty, hungry, soaking wet, it doesn't matter. We're going to show you out on the trail so you really know what you're getting into. So we appreciate everybody watching tonight. We hope you learned something. We hope you got something from this. I hope something in this episode will help you. And we'll see you next time.
Bye, everybody.
See ya.